First, I'd like to thank everyone who brought food. Man, what a spread, huh? And I think everybody's probably going to want to come back here after church and finish up, right? Yeah, so we're going to, I'm going to get going here. We're going to have a prayer, and then I'll introduce the team and allow them to introduce each other themselves. Father, we thank you for the beauty of this day. Father, we thank you for the gathering today and the food that you have provided. And Lord, we are here to celebrate your victory, your work that you accomplished through the mission team in Kenya in May this year. And God, may this presentation, the memories and the thoughts, and hopefully the expectations of those that might be called into service be all to honor you and to, Father, just to ultimately build your kingdom here on earth to help those that are in need and those that don't know your son Jesus. God, we thank you for all that you do, for it's in his name that we pray. Amen. So y'all know me, I'm Tom Lohner. I'm also the president of Sustainable Development Fund, which is the organization that was the sponsor for the mission trip. Sustainable Development Fund uses sustainable development in third world countries as a means of sharing the gospel. So when we go in and we enter into a community, we always do some type of work, some project that helps further their life. And in the case of what we did here in Kenya is we the focus was high efficiency cook stoves, and the high efficiency cook stove reduces their reliance on wood for cooking, because all these families still cook over a 3-stone fire, open fire. And by doing that, it minimizes the family's exposure to smoke. It reduces their cost, money that they have to pay for wood. Oftentimes in areas there aren't enough trees, so they have to go out and buy and purchase wood. And then it also frees the mother up so that she can spend time with her family. So it's a big impact on the overall family unit. And yeah, so and there's more into how we all set it up, because ultimately what we want them to do is to be able to continue to use the work that we do so that it's sustainable well into the future and continues to bless their family. So anyway, with that, I'm gonna, you guys want to stand up and introduce yourselves?
You want to give them the mic?
Yeah, I am.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
I want them to stand.
All right, so this will be a quick introduction because most everybody here already knows who I am. So how I came about meeting Tom was I had reached out to Josh about looking into getting involved in medical mission work. Hey, I really don't know of anybody right off the top of my head. He's like, let me kind of do some research and everything. He's like, and I'll get back with you. And then not even like 2 weeks later, I came to an evening service out here, and coincidentally, Tom had shown up, and Josh is the one that introduced me to Tom. And, I kind of told him my background in healthcare and whatnot, and he was like, we'd love to have you, come on this trip. And so really when I first signed up to go on this, I really didn't know what was going to be needed from my aspect. And then once we met our point of contact, who is Nemo, which you'll see some pictures of her in the slideshow, I kind of really handled all the nutrition and sanitation, and then just like some basic first aid and some medical treatments, and was able to set up a medical clinic during my time in Kenya. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more, so I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic, but at least for me, I hadn't fully expected to do what I inevitably ended up doing, and it was a really moving couple of weeks of just being in Kenya and being able to treat some of the people that we encountered.
Good morning, church. My name is Nick. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tom's son, Ole Tom. That's what they called me over there. Yeah, like Brian, I didn't really know what my role was really going to be going. Of course, I was excited to see my dad in his element and just kind of take it all in. But I guess I just fell in and found myself with the children. And while there was presentations going on in the church, there was lots of children who were a lot younger. And they stayed in the areas that we were in and attended school, and so they were all familiar with Jesus, which there was a large language barrier, but they all knew Jesus, and so that was pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, so that's where I found myself, and Sheldon helped with that too, and yeah, it was a great experience, and hopefully some of you guys will join on the next one.
Good morning. My name is Sheldon, and of course I met Tom through a program called Kairos on the inside, because I happen to have been on the inside for a few years. And me and Tom used to talk a lot about doing some things, if I ever got out, because I wasn't sure that was going to be a reality. And but he and I, we didn't let that stop us planning what we would do and how we would go. And as God would have it, I actually got out. And Tom invited me on a mission trip to Kenya. It's one of the most amazing stories I could ever really tell, but I'm humbled to have gone and been and seen and have done. And I hope that in some way we can transmit that message to you all, just to see the power of God at work in many, many layers, many elements. And so I'm grateful for it, and hope to be able to do so in His own time. Thank you for allowing us to share, and thank you for the invitation and hospitality.
So the mission trip was like two parts. It was part A was a direct mission, which was day 1 through 10, and then the second half was me and Sheldon were the two primary U.S. participants in a men's conference that we sponsored called Every Man's a Warrior. So this is just a timeline, and I'll go through it real quick because right after this we're going to do a slideshow, and the slideshow is sequential. It's in it shows us in the airport, and then it shows us landing, and then it shows us what did we do on the first day, and then the second day, and so on. So just keep that in mind as the slides go, and I'll try to narrate a little bit. I'll just throw in like, there's a safari vehicle. It may be obvious to some of y'all, but, yeah. But anyway, so first day we went to Washington Dulles to get ready for the flight the next day, and then we had a long flight on Ethiopian Air from Dulles to Addis Ababa. It was about a 14-hour flight. We arrived there because we changed a bunch of time zones. So by the time we get there, it's like I think like 1 a.m. in the morning, and it's like 7:30 a.m. in East Africa time. Then when we got our bags, cleared customs, we had a transport vehicle there waiting for us to take us down south to Namunga, which is right on the Tanzania border. We got there like around 5:30, and then we ordered some pizzas in advance because we weren't sure whether we were going to get there when we were going to get there, and we ate dinner and then went to bed. Of course, we were all like really tired. You can imagine after over a day and a half without much sleep. Then the next day we got up and went to Zion Baptist Church, which was Mother's Day, and we had an opportunity to worship with them during Mother's Day, and I offered the message, and it was a very very moving service, and they were very, very happy to have us. We actually have a video of us, some ladies doing the dance for Mother's Day, but it didn't make the short list because of time. But I could always show it if I do have it. And then the next day we started the direct missions. We went to 5 villages, starting with the 5th day we went to Incarita Church. Then the next day we went to Zion Baptist, which was where we had the Mother's Day service. The thing I'll mention is around these churches are a bunch of houses, little community compounds, that the church facilitates, serves, and they do work together. Then on the following day, we went to Namalok, which is a church that we visited before. 2 years ago, we actually gave them a sound system and a generator so that they would be able to worship. And of course, they were very glad to see us. And I do have a video at the end. You'll see us, where we're all doing the Maasai thing, yeah. Yeah, and that's Namalok, remember that. And then the next day we went to Nabala, and that was, it was interesting because it was up on a hilltop, so you could see, I mean, the vistas were like, it was fantastic. And, Brian did some amazing, health work, on a number of babies and, fixed a number of wounds, and we have a few pictures of that. The last day we went to Osselin, and Osselin is a village that I've probably been there like maybe starting back in 2021, and they have to walk 7 kilometers to get water, so they use like donkeys or mules to transport the water back, and they really need water in that community. I think the Rotary did a needs assessment and said that it would help about 1,000 people in the general vicinity of Osselin. So that project has been ongoing since 2021, and it's a long story. I won't go into the details, but it's resurrected itself since I was there, and we're hoping that next year it's completed, and that is kind of like the key for us wanting to do another mission trip next year. We want to kind of coincide with somewhat the completion of that project, because it would be a time of significant celebration and opportunities to help them understand how to use water in a very climate smart sense. And then the next day we went on a safari to Amboseli National Park, which is right on the kind of the foothill of Mount Kilimanjaro, which that's probably the most famous mountain in Africa, and we'll show you some pictures of that. Then we returned to Nairobi, went souvenir shopping, and then the mission team, which was Brian and Esther and Nick, they departed, and of course Nick and Brian came back to the U.S. Then Sheldon and I then stayed in Nairobi overnight, and then the next day we returned back to Namanga, and that was right when they had a driver's strike because of the high cost of fuel. And in Kenya, not only do they have high costs, but the availability of fuel is sometimes dicey. So you may go to a filling station and they may not have any fuel to offer. Anyway, so they closed all the roads and there were riots going on and all that, so we didn't leave until later in the day. And on the way to Namanga, we had a guy with a hockey stick jump out from nowhere, and he whacked the windshield on our car and broke the windshield. And in Kenya, you can't drive with a broken windshield, so the next day I had to pay for a windshield replacement, which I'm happy to share was only $100 if you're doing that. I mean, I was just like, whoa, yeah. I mean, that was almost a miracle in itself, right? And then, so we did the Everyman and Warrior Conference, and then the last day, Sheldon and I returned to Nairobi, and then, from there we flew back to the U.S. So, anyway, so that's the timeline. And community presentation wise, the 5 days that we were out in the bush, presenting to the different communities. This is the agenda that we followed, where Sheldon talked about table banks and the benefits of community coming together to do life together, and how they're much stronger together, being able to share resources and help each other. And he, what was it, Acts 4 was your?
Acts
Chapter 2, yeah. Yeah, the early church, yeah, kind of use that as then I talked about environmental stewardship, and basically the message there was, we're giving you these high efficiency cook stoves, and you're going to reduce your dependence on wood by about 60-70%. Therefore, that makes you an environmental steward compared to your neighbors. And So then I guess the last message I shared with them was, for every tree that you cut down, because they have, they're going to cut a tree down. They don't have a choice, but you should plant 2 trees in its place. And if they do that, then you'll leave your community, your environment in a much better shape for your children. And they never even really even thought about that. So, simple message. But then Brian talked about sanitation, health, and nutrition, and offered some really good pointers to them on things that for you are common sense, but for them, maybe not so. And then the benefits of the high efficiency cook stoves were, we're giving them this gift, and they may not understand what the big deal is about it, but we talked about the health benefits and the financial benefits and how it impacts the family unit. And then once we went through that, then we celebrated, we gave them the cook stoves. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show the slideshow, and then we'll follow that with everybody will get a chance to share with you their high and low of the mission trip. So just bear with me a second here. If I can see there it is. We can probably sit down for, yeah. This will probably be about maybe 10, 15 minutes. Well, because we got the videos in it too. Safari vehicle. This is the Kenyan Mountains on the way to Namanga. Very beautiful scenery. This is where we stayed. It's the Namanga River Resort. Very beautiful grounds. These animals are around the grounds. This is an anthill. It has some huge anthills. Unbelievable. Mount Kilimanjaro. Brian doing healthcare work. Young ladies from the Casa Primary School. We gave out coloring books that were Christian focused. Each picture was a different Bible scene. This week we went to Mali Tisa to a farmer's market that they have every Monday. This is a butcher shop right across from where they're having the market, and that we also ate there on Sunday. The donkeys do trash cleanup. Every church that we went to, we had a different way of getting the projection screen set up. Sheldon sharing with the children, and Nick sharing with the children on the coloring books. That's Zion Baptist Church. Bishop Moses and me are answering some questions. Sheldon talking about table banks. Brian inspecting a wound. Talking about environmental stewardship. Those are some of the health awareness issues that Brian was talking about. The cook stoves presentation, and then we're just blessing the women as they came and picked them up. This is the mission team. one of the missionaries that was on the far left is Esther Bonyo, who's actually from Kenya. She couldn't make it. That mountain they used to do human sacrifices on. That's Nemo Kamani. She's our contact in Kenya with Hami Imani Africa. That's Pastor John Kasasi on the right and Esther on the left. This is Namalak Church. We saw these on the way to and from the different churches that we were going to visit. This is Nabala. We're getting ready to set up for the Nabala. That's we actually gave the coloring books to children sitting outside under a tree. The women are actually building a kitchen, so that frame is basically the start of a typical Maasai house or kitchen. This is a mountainside from the top of Nabala Hill. Brian gave out his surgical gloves, inspection gloves, and yeah, I know. The kids thought that was great. Yeah. We saw these on the way back to our hotel. Yeah, they were just alongside the road. So this is also in the village I talked about with the water project. This guy came out of the bush and Sheldon and him hit it right off, and he got his stick. Yeah, and of course they love soccer, and that's what they live in. Yeah, that was Nick actually had the opportunity to go in one of these, and you'll see it here in a few minutes. Very humbling. I mean, look, he's like having a duck just to go in there. That's they gave me the hat and the cape. Yeah, so I'll wear that in a second. Now we're on the safari. This is on the way to the Amboseli National Park. A herd of giraffe were crossing the road and just on the side of the road. Yes. Yeah. Those are water buffalo. Cheetah. Yeah. That's a Paula. Or is that? No, that was a gazelle. Yeah, gazelle. Warthogs. That's an Impala. Mount Kilimanjaro in the background. The clouds are, it's kind of hard to see. It's a skull of a yeah, right. There's Dumb and Dumber, yeah. Esther jumping, yeah. The man of the hour. I will fix you. Sheldon's holding up Mount Kilimanjaro. See that? That's Nemo and Liz. Liz also went with us to help. It's Nemo. Nick and Brian.
African Uber.
This guy came out of the bush and was charging our truck. All right. So now we're going to the videos. They're on their way to, actually I'm going to give it to Nick.
Yes, I think his name was Simon, and so what he was doing here was giving me the opportunity to see basically where they stay, the children, their manatas, and this area we're entering here is this little channel is where they herd all their animals for the night, And he's explaining to me basically where they eat, where they sleep.
That's what the Salt Lake is.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So they stack these thorns up really high
Oh,
to try to
babies.
keep all the predators
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, yeah. The cooking.
Kitchen.
Cook. Yeah. We're gonna help with that today with some stoves. We've got the cook stoves. You know we bring the stoves for you guys. Yeah. So it will help very much, hopefully.
So these things were very hard to get in and out of.
Can I look in? I can look.
There's no lights. It's pitch black. They have a little fire that's right in the middle. You'll see. Everything's caked in soot and kind of just smells like a campfire.
In the bed? Yeah. Yeah. I run that too.
So the women stay over there. The children stay on that right
How
side.
many people?
And the man has their own little house, I think, right? The men have their own little house.
Oh, they,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Moms, yeah. It's hard to see. Oh, because they make the fire. Then they can see.
So where those fires are, they have a lot of accidents where the kids will fall in, and that was another thing that the stoves were kind of geared to help with, was the accidents inside of there. All the
You know,
smoke
in the
and so on.
United States, I have a company. I build homes.
Yes.
That's what I do in the U.S. for money. My job to build homes.
Which one?
Yeah, yeah. So this, I like seeing this.
Yes.
I love it. And there are no lines around? The lines? No lines?
Left.
No lines?
They started.
There is, they don't.
They moved at night.
This is Namalok Village. And Sheldon's taking the video, so I'll let him talk about it.
It seems like everything they do by way of song and dance. Maybe from one part of the service to another, strike out singing, strike out dancing. I thought that was wonderful because we tell stories sometimes we don't express. But we prefer it because when they express it, we can do it together. It's almost like we're trying to catch on. He was doing pretty good. And the children engaged really well. Yeah.
Sheldon's taking video doing it too.
And the only thing about dancing songs, sometimes the song sounds alike every time. So after about the fourth day, fifth day, it's like, here we go again.
Yeah.
He's done it before.
In some places, when we men and women kind of set together, but most of the time the women sit on one side, and the men congregate on the other. So,
Brian, you wanna?
Oh, I don't know what this one is.
There's Brian. He's already jumped out the window. You know, we're on our way to Oswin, and you can see we're at the soccer ball, which is the most important cargo that we had. But we always took some stoves with us. One time we had a bunch of them strapped to the top of the safari vehicle. But this just gives you an idea of what it's like going down, see that road? That's the way it was most of the way to the villages that we were going to. This is a outhouse. Yeah.
That's fashion.
Yeah.
Seriously. Take your own boat.
This is Brian in action.
So every morning that we would go into different villages, I would find some kind of table or something that they had to set up some medical supplies and just kind of really open up the clinic off to the side until it was time for me to kind of give a lecture on nutrition and stuff. And so just people from all over would just kind of congregate to this one area, and then it was just, you know, a matter of triaging, looking at everybody real quickly and seeing who had the more serious injury and then treating that person first, and then just kind of going down the line.
Look at that. Look at the speaker. Yeah.
They're on Facebook.
Yeah.
So this is just one evening of us after leaving one of the villages. And as you can see, probably the roadways aren't the best. If you look at the video long enough, you'll get motion sickness, trust me.
All right. So now we're going to ask Brian, since you're holding the mic. We're going back to. I can't see the cursor.
Didn't you carry glasses?
So yes, we did order a bunch of glasses. However, they did not make it in time. There was a delay on the shipping end of things, but they did eventually get there. So, kind of my part in all of this, you know, we obviously had a bunch of meetings leading up to us actually going over. And when I was talking to Nemo, I asked her, I was like, hey, you know, what all are you guys wanting to know? Like, do you need education on wound management, hemorrhage control, stuff like that? And at first they were like, no, we just want to talk about nutrition, sanitation, and kind of explain the current living conditions that was there. And so I kind of re-geared my mind of what I was going to be doing while I was there. And then when we got there, I had brought a couple of first aid supplies just for really myself and the team. That way, if we got in a bind, I could treat us. And then the first village that we showed up to, it became very apparent that this was going to be needed throughout the duration of the entire trip. And so really, for me, this is the high, and I'll just kind of lead into this story. So the first day, we showed up to this village and opened my clinic, and I'm taking just blood pressures and stuff like this, and then these people would just start coming up. And the first day was just nothing but open cuts and wounds and infections to like the bottom of their feet. So for example, you know, obviously you guys saw pictures of the terrain in the slideshow, so very rough conditions to be walking barefoot in. And so some of them do have shoes, and then a lot of them use the tread off of old tires. They trace their foot out on the tread, cut it out, and they'll take leather binding and kind of stitch it on top of that tread and use it as a sandal. And it does get a little bit of protection, but over there, like, they have how we have briar patches here, over there they have briar bushes there, except the briars there are about 4 inches long and razor sharp. And so kind of like what Nick was leading to as well with cooking inside the home, we had a lot of children that were coming up that had burns to the 2nd degree on their hands and on their feet from just being so dark inside the manadas and then tripping and stumbling into the fire itself and becoming burned. A lot of malaria, a lot of yellow fever, and a lot of intestinal parasites. So the first day we show up, I open up this clinic and these people start coming up, and I immediately ran out of supplies because I just started using everything out of the personal first aid kit I brought. And coincidentally, we had made a bunch of coloring books to hand out to the kids, and I, for some reason, forgot to load the coloring books on the truck that morning. Right, so I was like, how in the world, carrying around a 110-pound duffel bag full of coloring books, how was it this easy to forget, right? And so in the meantime, I'm talking to Nima. I was like, hey, I need to get in touch with somebody as far as how to get a hold of medical supplies. You know, this is what I need: Serogal's iodine, Silverderm for burns, malaria medication, etc. And coincidentally, ended up talking to the chemist through a translator. They found out about my background and like, hey, you're pretty much a physician here, so within reason, we'll sell you anything you want to. So for me, I was like, that's great, that's awesome, this is what I need. And I was like, where are you located? And I didn't think at the time we were even going to be able to get the supplies in time to treat everybody in the first village. And Tom had sent Nick with our driver back to gather the coloring books so we could at least have those to hand out to the children. And just coincidentally, and divinely, the chemist where all the medical supplies were a block south of where Nick had to go. So Nick, while he was retrieving the coloring books, was able to stop at the chemist and pick up all the supplies that I needed and bring them back, and we were able to treat all those people that were coming up to the clinic that day. Now, probably the highest moment where I truly felt like God was working was like, you know, I told you guys that first day all we saw was open cuts, wounds, and burns and stuff. Not once had I seen an eye infection in the time I was there. And so the following morning, we would always meet up, have breakfast, do like a daily devotion. And that morning I was feeling a little queasy, wasn't necessarily the most hungriest person from the doxycycline, the anti-malaria medication I was taking. So me and the translator, we walked down the block to where the chemist was. I was like, hey, I'm going to go restock on all these supplies that I used yesterday. So we take off when we go, and we get up to the chemist, and the first medication I see is gentamicin eye drops, which is an antibiotic eye drop. And just a very profound feeling came over me, to where it was like, hey, you need to buy those, and you need to buy more than one box. And I didn't know why. Because the whole first day, I never saw the first eye infection. It wasn't like I seen a bunch of eye infections, like, hey, that would have been really good to have yesterday, let me get it today. Never once saw it, but I followed through with it. So I said, hey, let me get 4 boxes of those gentamicin eye drops as well with all the other stuff. And not even 3 hours later, we show up to Nyabala, and I go to open my clinic, and these women start showing up with their kids. And all these kids have 30 and 40 flies just glued to their face, and it didn't matter how fast the mom was trying to swap the flies out of their face, they're just stuck there. And so the first baby that gets brought to me is about a 3-year-old, and after, you know, the language barrier translating, mom goes, the kid has an eye problem. And as soon as I open this kid's eyes, just infection starts pouring out this kid's eyes. And so he had bacterial conjunctivitis, right? So the treatment of that is gentamicin antibiotic eye drops. And so for me, that was very real. It was like, what are the odds that I hadn't seen any kind of eye infection? I show up to restock on the stuff I used the day before, expecting to just see a continuation of that. I feel super compelled to buy eye drops. And then as soon as I show up in this village, multiple kids are showing up with eye infections.
That's an amen.
And so for me, that was really the high part. And one thing I would want to share with y'all before I pass the mic, so we have time for everybody to share, is I read a quote from a very famous Swiss psychiatrist. His name is Carl Jung, and he said, most people fail to see God because they refuse to look low enough. And if you dissect what that means, it's about having that humility to bow down lower than yourself and realize that there's divine things happening all around us. You just have to look close enough and be humble enough. And I think in our country, and at least in the United States, we get so caught up in this rat race of life, of having all these materialistic things and stuff like that. And we hear all these grand stories about things that happen biblically, and what we sometimes want to see, or what we want to attribute to God, is only like the big miraculous things. Like, I feel like sometimes we just want to see somebody walk on water and call that a divine miracle because that's a great gesture that we heard about. But realistically, what it comes down to is it could be something as small as just having that compounding feeling of like, hey, you need to buy those eye drops. You don't understand right now, but in a couple hours you will. And so for me, that made it really, really real. And I'm honored and very thankful to be able to be a part of this trip. So thank you guys.
I'd just like to share just a couple of things, they call it highs and lows real quick, about what we did in the, on the men's conference side, because that was a separate deal from our mission in the villages. But getting back just on the village part and anything that we were doing there, the resounding theme was that we weren't going to do anything by ourselves. It was going to take somebody who was already there on the ground and willing to help us to get things done that we need to do it. So that was great importance to me, because I realized we were in the hands of somebody we didn't know, somebody that we didn't know they would trust us, and we were going in some dangerous areas. So by God's divine hand, He put the right people in the right place to help us and to guide us and to protect us and tell us, no, don't go there. I mean, everything from buying stuff out of the markets. And so that just showed me how important it was for the body of Christ to be working together always to do what and get things done for Christ's sake. And then the other thing was that when I got, of course, to Nairobi, I realized I wasn't a black man anymore. It was a bit different, but it probably was necessary, because sometimes we rely on stuff like that too much. And we just realized, you in God's hand, that boy.
Everybody's the same color in God's eyes, right?
But one of the great things in our men's conferences is that the men suffer so from cultural sort of grooming and training and tradition and customs. And of course, their wives, unfortunately, were lower in value than their actual goats and animals. And they gave children more value than they did for their wives. They had many other crazy beliefs and ideas. Of course, they had several wives and so on and so forth. So I was able to share, I believe, when God called Abram. And He told Abram right away to just separate yourself from your father, from your father's house, from your traditions, and from your customs. Because what I'm ready to show you is going to be something totally different than what you think and what you've known up until this point in time. And so we just took the men down that lane all the way through the conference, telling them about the battles they face and how to face those battles from a different perspective. Because these men were warriors. They are warriors. They killed lions. They kill animals with spears and with these mongoose sticks that guy gave me. I gave him my hat, and he gave me his stick. It's over there somewhere. That's how I got that stick. He was coming out of the woods. I guess he was coming from home or wherever it may have been. And we talked about the language barrier. I don't know why they call it really a barrier, but it's amazing to me that you can speak Swahili, you can speak English. I got a broken North Carolina, sort of Washingtonian type thing going on. And of course, Maasai, all those languages in one. But the language that prevailed was the language of love. And we had no problem understanding that exchange. And so there was no barrier there. But also at the same time, our traditions and customs were at war because we were bringing the gospel. And they hadn't heard it in that way where it relates to their children, where it relates to their wives. And husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. Unheard of in the minds of these warriors, in the minds of these men. So, and we had greatly been able to take books called Every Man a Warrior books that taught some of these same things, but they were written in their language. And so they were able to read, and are able even today. They're doing little study groups today where they're reading and studying these books and hopefully learning more about it. But there's more need to be done. If there's a low, for me, it is that I don't think we've done enough. I think we should have done more. You know, there's more that needs to be done. And when you leave those issues behind undone, I think that's the lowest that I really think you can feel and go. But, what should I say?
Did you talk about that?
Oh yeah, we had soccer and we had javelin throwing contests. And so we went out on this big field for 3 days and the men competed against each other. And of course, Tom gave them gifts. You know, they won prizes and so on and so forth. So the ones that were throwing the javelin the longest or was able to win the soccer contest got the biggest prize. They're pretty good prizes for them.
But they're holding the best prize of all.
Yeah, and what are those? Those the books.
Bibles.
Oh, the Bibles. We gave out 120
20.
Bibles, and half of them were in their language,
Masai. Yeah.
Masai,
Yeah.
and then
Another half in
120.
English. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Another half are in English.
so we sowed some seed. So one soil, one water, God gives the increase, and so that's what this is all about. And I told the guys when we were in our little small groups, I said, you know, some people over in America that you may not never see, they never come, anything of that nature, but they're here now. I'm here because they are here. And so we're connected in that way. And I want you to know that there are people that you may not see that care about you, that love you, and that, you know, you see us and you want handouts and they had to hand the stuff to us for us to bring it to you. And so that's how that works. And so we look forward, you know, to continuing what we do in this regard. It's my first time, certainly not last. And, you know, I just thank God. And this was the altar call after we finished the men's conference. We called the men to the altar. And when they came by unannounced or unprovoked, I didn't get the picture.
26.
They bowed. They got down on their knees and they were humbled by just that message and that challenge of, you know, really walking the walk, the Christ walk. And that's, we're not our own, but we've been bought with price. And so we want to continue that message and continue to extend, you know, the love of God in that way. As I say, I'm grateful for that opportunity. Thank you for your support.
And once Nick's finished, this will conclude our presentation.
Hello again. So Brian and Sheldon both kind of spoke on the highs and lows that I felt. I'll start with the low. I just felt that there was so much more that needed to be done that we didn't have the ability to do. It was hard to go there and try and be positive, but see so much, not pain in them, but just the way that they lived. It's hard to see, hard to imagine the way that they live. And the high that's coupled with that, which was an unending revelation for me, is that they were always so grateful and joyful and happy, and you look and see nothing by the standards here, and but you see more joy in them than anybody here that lives in $1 million home. And I mean, it was just so pure. Every relationship, every meeting, every greeting felt very personal. It was very spirit charged. Yeah, it wasn't just a hi, hey, how you doing, like you meet someone, and you know, traditionally here. It just felt deeper, like there was just a great connection happening, and it was very inviting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going again. So again, I hope some of you guys here will join us on the next one.
In the conference that we did, the picture there, we had 26 men come up for the invitation, and it was very powerful. We had, God assembled a collection of pastors, of which, Sheldon and I, we were pastors in Kenya's sense. But everybody brought something to the table, and there was this one man from Tanzania who his family had kicked him out of the house when he was 18 years old, and he lived in the bush for like 6 years. 14, yeah. And I couldn't quite remember how he came to Christ, but he's like a powerful evangelist, well known in the area. And he would get up, and man, and he was, just on fire, in fact, we have a couple pictures of him, like, waving his arms in the air. But he really connected with the men. And then, the combination of everything that transpired over the 3 days, it really touched a number of men. Then we were able to get Bibles to everyone, because, if you think about it, if you don't have the Word of God, you may have that, that conversion experience, but our faith, our walk as disciples of Christ is a day-to-day thing. We have to sharpen our understanding of our faith each and every day. And so out of everything we did, giving them the Bibles was probably the best thing. So anyway. Thank you so much. This is pretty much, because we have a few other things if you want to stick around, but